On August 28, 2025, I released a video titled The Complete Guide to Syncing in 2025. And well, it's not 2025 anymore, and the syncing team looks completely different from the one I described in that video. The reason why I made that video at that point was because syncing wasn't very volatile at the time. The team wasn't receiving much content and as such was easier than ever to solve. What I didn't know, however, is that 2025 was the calm before the storm, and syncing identities started pouring out as soon as the video went live. Which means the complete guide is grossly outdated. So I am here to catch you up to speed. Now, you may notice that this video lacks the word guide in its title, and that's because I will not be making another extremely long deep dive into the team. Instead, today I want to focus on the changes to the archetype over the past half a year, the three most prominent Yi Sang identities, their power compared to each other, the teams that each of them prefers, and the use cases each syncing strategy has. But before we start, I have to remind you that most of my viewers are not subscribed, so if you find yourself coming back to my videos or end up enjoying this one, consider subscribing. It takes just 1 second and helps me out a lot. Now let's get into the new syncing. And we'll start with the Tale of the Betrayer. My complete guide to syncing ended on the statement that Spicebush Yi Sang is better than Solemn Lament at taking down story bosses. And as bosses are the most relevant content outside of Refraction Railways, and Project Moon refused to give us RR6 at the time, this basically meant that Spicebush was the stronger of the two syncing win conditions. And it seems like Solemn Lament Yi Sang saw the video, and he did not take such statements lying down. The man instantly went to Kim Ji-hoon and begged to be given more power. And his wish was granted. But to understand what an identity needs to help Solemn Lament, we should first look at the two old syncing win conditions. Deluge is the effect belonging to Spicebush. This one takes the syncing potency and count on an enemy, multiplies them, and inflicts that amount as gloom damage on the enemy. Count positive identities with good syncing infliction work great in combination with Spicebush, as they can rapidly grow the stack to increase deluge damage. Butterfly, on the other hand, is the effect of Solemn Lament, and it makes the afflicted enemy take gloom damage scaling with syncing and the departed whenever they get hit. The best identities for utilizing butterflies are those who can hit the enemy with a lot of coins, which lets you cram more butterfly damage into each turn. The first syncing identity to come after my video was Jung's office rep Ishmael, a unit that can be count neutral, but is not innately count positive. Her potency infliction is also quite low, but a powerful tool that Ishmael has access to is Kozan, a bonus skill with up to 5 coins that gets played when the conditions of Bright are fulfilled. This pairs well with Solemn Lament and his butterflies whenever you can get it off, while not doing much for Spicebush outside of certain scenarios that we'll get into later. Next up we got Wei Dawn, and she's a demon that we'll get to a bit later. What you need to know though is that she's got a bunch of coins and not that much effect infliction, putting her in the Solemn Lament camp as well. Then we got Arcor Prodion. Well, actually we didn't. That identity never existed. If anyone claims that this unit is part of the Limbus Company roster, they're lying. Don't believe those people. Anyways, the non-existent identity was the last syncing ID we would get in Season 6. Not because we didn't get more syncing identities, but because we're moving on to Season 7. Kumono Ito can be jokingly dubbed the syncing season, as it brought a lot of content into that team with its earlier banners. The first ever banner of the season featured 2 syncing units, as a matter of fact. And while Index Faust isn't all that, LCA Otis is a useful unit for both syncing compositions, providing extra count with Blue Sand, a bunch of potency with her guard, and crucially, Gloom Resist down. See, Gloom Fragility does not affect things like Butterflies and Deluge, but directly lowering the enemy's Gloom resistance definitely does. And while Spicebush is stuck choosing when to use Otis's skill 3, as both Blue Sand and Gloom Resist Down will provide extra damage, Solemn Lament just makes Otis chuck her skill 3 whenever it's time to nuke the enemy, as with her great speed with her mask on, Otis can make sure an entire turn of spamming coins gets to deal 33 damage on hit instead of 30. Right after the double sinking identity banner, we got another sinking unit, Index Dawn. She's similar to Faust, but does more damage and has more coins, making Dawn yet another coin-spamming offensive identity that benefits Solemn Lament far more than Spicebush. 2 banners later, we got Lamp Gregor, who provides an offensive buff with Dazzle, which is perfect for an aggressive sinking composition, and replaces the heavily count-positive skill 2 of Linton Gregor, his predecessor, for a 4-coin skill 2 which gets to deal up to 120 gloom damage with butterflies. After that, we got... we'll get to that one later, alright? Next up, we got a third Walpurgisnacht in a row that features a powerful sinking unit, with the identity in question this time being Aroma Ryoshu. She, much like Hanafuda Ishmael, has access to follow-up attacks, but unlike Ishmael, who has one powerful bonus skill that she needs to repeatedly work towards, Ryoshu opts to lose some of her innate destructive power in order to use follow-up skills a lot more often. Not a turn goes by in human boss fights where Ryoshu uses less than 4 coins, and, in fact, she can go as far as using 4 whole skills in one turn, which repeatedly procs butterflies without even putting a huge strain on the sinking stack. Even in an extremely short fight, Ryoshu can fire off 8 coins on the second turn, which makes her immensely powerful when combined with butterflies. She can help Spicebush as well, but her power on that variation is far lower than when butterflies are involved. Lastly, we got the Ring Fauvests, a banner of bleed sinking hybrids. And they're bad at sinking. That being said, if you were to force them into a sinking composition, you'd likely find more success on butterfly sinking than on Deluge even with them. As you can see, pretty much every sinking identity released in the past couple of months benefits Solemn Lament more than Spicebush. It seems like Kim Ji-hoon wants to get rid of the nuke approach once and for all. But this is natural, right? New sinking identities benefit butterflies more than Deluge, making the butterfly approach more competitive. So why do they call this the Tale of the Betrayer? That's because this wasn't enough for Solemn Lament.
The sinking archetype can only get you so far. If you yearn for greater power, you must sell your soul.
And it just so happened that there was a devil on the loose, eagerly taking the souls of every team under the sun. That's right, Lord Honglu made his way into sinking, and this is where we come back to Wei Dawn as well. Lord Lu has the ability to grant Heisho allies extra skills using his counter, his passive, and his skill 3. The passive and the skill 3 interest us the most here, as both of these effects give the chosen Heisho, in this case Wei Dawn, an extra skill 3. By swapping out a different Heisho for Wei Dawn, and then using Lord Lu's skill 3 alongside Dawn's own skill 3, with the help of the Lord's passive, you get 3 Wei Dawn skill 3s in one turn, resulting in a lot of gloom damage being output, and crucially, 15 coins being thrown at the enemy between the 2 slots. This combo allows you to capitalize greatly on one turn of vulnerability, and stacks on top of things like Ujat Otis's Gloom Resist Down very efficiently. Funnily enough, Solemn Lament Yi Sang, despite often being seen as the sustained damage sinking win condition, also has some burst in his kit. See, the way that butterflies work, the more departed you have on the enemy, the less sinking you need to reach the damage cap of 30, and Goodbye Now, A Sorrow in You unloads all of Yi Sang's ammo into the enemy, which, with the starting magazine, results in 10 of each type of butterfly being applied. With 10 stacks of the Departed, you need just 15 sinking to hit the cap, and one overclocked Rhyme Shank instantly brings you 2/3 of the way there. At this point, you should be able to clearly see that there is an insane amount of burst potential within the Solemn Lament archetype when it's played like this, which results in abnormally fast boss clears when pulled off in-game. But all of this was in the game last season, so why did the big 2-turn lay hand clears and the like start popping up only in Season 7? Well, the answer to that lies in the final part of the setup, a piece of content introduced in Season 7, another large 1-turn boost that Waydon could abuse, the brand new Durante Era. This ability equips a chosen unit with Gabura's Blade, a powerful 1-turn effect that increases the offensive and defensive capabilities of the chosen ally. As you could guess, a 100% dynamic damage modifier and 1 extra coin power go a long way when applied to 3 whole skill trees in 1 turn, resulting in insane amounts of physical damage that are great enough to allow you to clear out fights almost instantly. With this, the Heisho Era Butterfly Sinking team is complete, and Solemn Lament's wish has been granted, as this composition is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best sinking team against any kind of low resource single boss encounter, overtaking Deluge in its main niche. So it's done, right? Now that Spicebush is out of the picture, Solemn Lament is the only relevant Rien Yi Sang identity forever and ever. Oh yeah, that guy. Alongside the many powerful butterfly-centric identities, Season 7 gave us Rien Yi Sang, a brand new contender for the slot of the sinking win condition. And this guy attacks Solemn Lament in the complete opposite way compared to Spicebush. Rien Yi Sang's position as a sinking win condition is a bit controversial, as while Spicebush and Solemn Lament do work differently, there's a central concept at play. Both identities convert sinking on the enemy into bonus gloom damage. Rien Yi Sang does no such thing. Instead, he hits the enemy really hard. However, it's undeniable that Rien is a powerhouse that is worth switching to in content that benefits his skill set, and that skill set is actually much simpler than the many, and I mean many, lines of text might lead you to believe. Rien Yi Sang, much like all index identities, plays around prescripts. The prescripts are a set of simple rules you need to carry out in the early turns to gain grace of the prescript, which unlocks the true power for said allies. And while other units get at least a more specific third prescript, Yi Sang simply needs to hit enemies over and over again. Doing so successfully grants you access to Furioso Replica, and this is the tool that rivals Butterflies and Deluge. Furioso is an extremely powerful skill with base damage reaching beyond 600, a completely insane number that can be further boosted with staggers, era, and any kind of ally support. So what kind of content benefits Furioso, and how does it contest the other win conditions? The simple answer is longer content. Think of the 10x excavations, or longer refraction railway sections. At the time of writing this, RR5 is still up, and Rien is great in that mode, thanks to the 4-wave sections. Will he be as strong in RR6? I guess time will tell, or maybe Ultradon from the future will hop in right about now. Hi there, I am Ultradon from the future, or the present, I guess. RR6 has been out for a good while at this point, and it's safe to say that Rien is a good pick in multiple sections, but he's not exactly irreplaceable. That being said, those sections benefit physical damage the most, so while Rien might not hang with the hyper-optimized compositions of the New World, when compared to other win conditions, specifically through the lens of sinking, I would definitely take him over Solemn Lament or Spicebush in Section 4 if I were to force a sinking clear on it, for example. The reason why I said that Furioso contests butterflies in the opposite way of Deluge is because Furioso has a blind spot of 4 turns, whereas Deluge works best in fights of that exact length or shorter. Additionally, Deluge needs a stack to work, while Furioso is perfectly content with nuking down an enemy as soon as it appears on your screen. Those two win conditions are effectively diametrically opposed, and butterflies are somewhere in the middle. In modes like the aforementioned Refraction Railway long sections, Rien outshines Solemn Lament power-wise, but his blind spot prevents him from ever competing in boss speedruns and other short content. He's also more powerful against groups, as his damage isn't reliant on effect infliction, and his skill 3 too can hit multiple targets. Rien is also the best option for syncing within the mirror dungeons, as his double keyword profile as well as his immensely overpowered 9-coin skill are powerful tools for 15 floor runs, where Spicebush and Solemn Lament both lack a second keyword and the physical damage that you really want in deep runs. Hi there, Present Ultranum here. Solemn Lament got an ego that technically makes him Tremor. I'm not an expert on the Mirror Dungeons meta, but this has definitely put him back into the conversation for that mode, as he's no longer a mono-syncing chud. Rien Yi Sang might not give you a brand new 2-turn Lei Hein clear, but he picks up the slack whenever Solemn Lament can't nuke efficiently, earning Rien Yi Sang a rightful spot as one of the kings of syncing. And finally, we're left with the disgraced one, Spicebush Yi Sang. Oh, how far the mighty have fallen. Spicebush is the wielder of the syncing deluge effect, and he is the old king of single boss fights. And while it's true that the Heisho era Butterfly team has left Spicebush without his main job, I still want to look at how he's played, because my complete guide didn't talk about some cool strategies. First of all, Spicebush Yi Sang is notorious for rolling low. Now, the people who hate on him for that must not know what the syncing effect does, and yet it's still true that a 9 rolling skill 1 is a bit too low at times, and you can always do better. Spicebush's defensive skill is an evade that rolls 14, but it's good not just because it rolls higher. On evade, Yi Sang inflicts 1 syncing against the target, which can add up to a lot of procs if he's targeted by more than 1 skill. When Echoes of the Manor are involved, this skill can also inflict syncing count, which makes Yi Sang's evade his best skill for stacking until the Deluge nuke. Another thing that's true is the fact that the Deluge composition sorely lacks good units right now. On one hand, that's bad because the team is worse off. On the other hand, double slotting is on the menu. When looking for a unit to double slot, there's no better option than Spicebush himself. Giving a second slot to the old man lets you cycle through his skills even faster in order to get his skill 3. It also lets you use the Bygone Days ego while also evading, which gives tremendous syncing infliction value under Echoes of the Manor. You can also sneak in a final Bygone Days use right before nuking with 2 slots, which overall just gives you a much bigger syncing stack effectively for free. All of that is cool, but it's not enough to overtake the Betrayer, as Deluge sits at a similar, yet slightly lower ceiling while being as inconsistent as the strongest nuke composition, if not worse. So, is Spicebush officially dead in the meta? Well, again, the script for this video was written before RR6, so Spicebush did have a non-deluge use case. In section 2 of RR5, you are tasked with killing wave upon wave of Envy Pecaculum, and then a Pierce weak boss. Spicebush was frequently used in this part due to his passive. See, his passive is disconnected from the Deluge effect entirely, and all it does is make Yi Sang deal more damage with AoE skills. This makes him a powerful AoE ego spamming identity for places exactly like RR5 section 2, where he wields Fell Bullet better than the literal Fell Bullet identity. That being said, this is not a syncing use case, and that's because Spicebush is slightly fading away in syncing. And even the unique Fell Bullet spam plays he had in the meta has faded away with the replacement of RR5. Overall, my goat is washed. Kinda. Not completely, but he's a shadow of his former self. Spicebush will always remain my favorite identity of all time, but it's undeniable that Solemn Lament has caught up and has been able to overtake him in his one niche, while getting a wider array of use cases beyond that. But hey, on the plus side, I can now be a snobby elitist that looks down on people who like strong identities, now that my favorite is not the greatest sinking win condition, so I guess that's nice. Alright, Present Ultranum back at it again. You can tell a large part of the script was written months ago, but due to being busy with illness and education, I ended up pushing it back all the way till now. And surprisingly, this has actually benefited this video, as syncing got even more content. More specifically, Walpurgisnacht 9 has added a Solemn Lament Yi Sang sync ego, which is legitimately a weapon of mass destruction. This skill clashes at up to 25, has 5 coins, and is a Gloom ego. It inflicts butterflies at a chance that depends on your SP, and if your SP is high, you're more likely to inflict the Departed, which is good because that's the damaging one. If Solemn Lament Yi Sang is using this ego, it gives him ammo before attacking, and then reloads him fully at attack end. The first 4 coins of the skill inflict 1 sinking count each, inflict Butterfly, and then the 4th one inflicts Gloom Fragility and Gloom Resist down for this turn and next turn as well. The last coin spends all of the Solemn Lament ammo, inflicts Sinking, Tremor and Butterflies, bursts Tremor, and then also deals Gloom damage based on Butterfly and ammo spent. The ridiculous strength of this ego cannot be understated. 5 coins put it solidly above all of Solemn Lament's base skills in terms of status damage, and the bonus Gloom damage at the end only adds to that. Gloom Fragility is nice for the increased physical damage output, but Gloom Resist down is the real star of the show. Much like I said in the LCA Orders segment, this effect impacts the damage of Butterfly and Deluge, meaning this ego is a fantastic setup for the status-based win conditions. And, due to 2 turns of uptime, you can stack it twice, with a 3rd stack from Oches, which would bring Butterfly damage to 39 against normally Gloom neutral human bosses, and Deluge damage to like 6 million. Speaking of Deluge, this skill is not just good with Solemn Lament, but it's also useful for Spicebush. Also, at this point I think I should clarify that it's mostly great for high resource content like RR6 Section 5, and not your average Lei Hang, just so we're on the same page here. The Solemn Lament Yi Sang ego skill further buffs the already strong team from both of its most prominent sides, and Rien Yi Sang is the only one who gets left behind. The last thing I want to do is give you guys a rough idea of what the best sinking team currently looks like. Generally, a team of Solemn Lament Yi Sang, Knight of Despair Rodion, Hanafuda Ishmael, Eroma Ryoshu, LCA Otis, Lamp Gregor and Butler Faust is an all-around great composition. For a Lord Honglu 2-turn nuke approach, you can replace Hanafuda Ishmael for Lord Lu, and you want to swap either Gregor or Rodion to their Heishu identities, based on the encounter, with Wei Don going 7th so that she can hop in and kill everybody. There are more small variations to this composition, but the core will largely stay the same. One thing to mention though is that if you run in Spicebush, you might want to slot in Air Gregor, and technically, Los Mariachis Sinclair can be fielded exclusively for Harmony for stuff like RR6 Section 5. But that is a bit too high IQ of an approach for this video. I encourage you guys to mix and match stuff on top of the core to find your sinking team of choice, but do remember that you need Echoes of the Manor, as I know it might seem tempting to drop Butler Faust. Anyways, this about wraps up the changes to the sinking team going from 2025 to 2026. So, which sinking win condition is the best after all? Well, Rien Yi Sang is cool and all, and he is technically the best option when it comes to multi-wave fights, but he doesn't interact with sinking at all really, so he's more of a slash-wrath win condition, which just happens to be what an entire different team does, which he can slot into instead. As for the other two, I think it would be disingenuous for me to recommend Spicebush in this day and age. Yes, he is almost equal to Solemn Lament in most fights that matter, but Solemn Lament retains his very slight superiority while also having a higher floor and better consistency. Unfortunately, my GOAT is a bit washed. With this now over, do tell me if you want updates like this for other teams I have already covered in the past. Bleed has seen some changes, and it could be the topic of conversation for a future video. If you disagree or have something to add, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I might read it and respond. If you liked the video at any point, leave a like to let me know, and if you want to see more like this, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye!